So today we will have our shortcut to Raman scattering. So we will have Raman scattering as a transition between states, Raman scattering as molecular vibration, and then we will go for fitting Raman peaks. So if you see incident and whatever incident light is there, incident EM wave is there, or incident light, incident photon, incident energy, or incident EM wave on a molecules, and then it is being absorbed and then re-emitted. So that is scattering. So the re-emitted one might have the same energy as the incident one. So that will be your elastically scattering. If it is having different energy or the frequency is different, so it is inelastic. So this inelastic uh, scattering will be a Raman one. So we'll see. I have seen some balls and spring model, so that will be explained. As a transition between state, you can see this is S0, the ground state. S1 is your first excited state. So energy is being used to transit electron from ground to excited state. Okay, so this is your optical transition. Okay, this is an optical transition like electronic band diagram. This will be electronic lines. Okay, now you can see this blue one is your optical transition. You can see in these bands there are sub bands which are vibrational energy levels. So you can, and then these vibrational energy levels are further composed of rotational energy level. They are closely spaced, you can see. So rotational one and vibrational one, and then electronic transition one. Okay. So while transition, what can happen? You can have there is shown some virtual level. So virtual level is a very short-lived distortion of electron cloud. Okay, so this is very momentarily. Okay, so some energy is being absorbed and then it is remitted. So if it is remitted with same energy, there is a relay without any change in the energy, and if there is change, then that is inelastic. So one of them will be composed of like Raman. So the Raman energy is basically the difference in the vibrational energy level. Okay, so we can calculate out the difference in the vibrational energy levels, the change in that energy of the incident in the emitted one. That will like prove that is providing us a proof for vibrational energy levels. Okay. So we can see here various type of vibration transition processes. A fluorescence one, first one, then IR absorption. So IR is very like the energy level of IR is very low. So this energy gap, say for semiconductor, it may be say 1 electron volt or 2 electron volt. So this is optical energy difference. In IR, the difference is even in 0.1 electron volt, something like that. Okay, so IR absorption. So those sort of energy are being absorbed. In Rayleigh one, we have a virtual state. We can see this Stokes and anti-Stokes. So we will discuss these things. What is Stokes Raman and what is anti-Stokes Raman? How it is happening. And then NIR fluorescence, similar one. Okay. So you can see we have a relay scattering with the intensity is very high. So this process is like very much like feasible naturally. This is Stokes one as it is shown here. Stokes is from the ground energy level to transition to virtual level, and then there is a transition back. Okay, so the ground state is highly populated, so Stokes scattering is like highly probable. So the intensity of Stokes is very high as compared to anti-Stokes. So anti-Stokes, you can see this probability is low because the vibrational energy level will be like not as much populated as the ground energy state. So this transition will have a low probability. So the intensity is lower here. We will see more in detail here. Molecular vibration. Now we can see we can assume that our atoms are held by a spring. This spring ball model can be assumed. Okay. So now what happens for this particular system? We'll calculate out the reduced mass mu, and then center of gravity is given. Okay. So now what is happening? This system of metal ball and spring kind of system, now it is perturbed by a incoming incident light. So that incident light is EM wave. So it has some electric field of its own, and then this is basically a dipole. This is basically a dipole. So now if that electric field is like changing or disturbing the dipole of existing dipole of this particular system, then it will try to oscillate. This system will try to oscillate. So we already have calculated the reduced mass. So you can see here how the system is being like this is the center one is the equilibrium state when it is pressed and when it is like stretched. So it will have some particular frequency of vibration. Okay, so that this frequency is given by mu k by mu naught, under root k by mu naught. So k is some constant and mu naught is the reduced mass. So at this particular frequency, this bond will vibrate. Okay, so this is what the fingerprint of Raman is. Okay, so it is required. It is only those molecules will show Raman scattering, which have change in the which will depict this kind of behavior, which will depict this behavior. So this is happening due to incoming incident light. So basically, incoming incident light is changing out the polarizability of this molecule, polarizability of this bond. So what is required here is, if you see what is required, Raman scattering occur only and only when the molecule is polarizable. So you can see some kind of what are the kind of vibrations a molecule can depict. A symmetric one, it can have a symmetric one, it can have a asymmetric one, it can have wagging, it can have twisting, it can have scissoring, it can have rocking. So all these vibrations, if they are having change in polarizability or electron crowd around the molecule, if it is changing out, if it is deforming, if it is changing its shape while the vibration, then only then the molecule is polarizable, and then it will show Raman scattering. Okay. So this is the important fact, like polarizability should be there. So roughly speaking, the primary selection rule for Raman transition is that molecular polarizability must change during the molecular vibration. Okay. The polarizability of molecule tells us how hard or how easy it is for electric field to change or distort the electron cloud in an atom or molecule. So this is what about like important two of the important phenomena about Raman scattering. Raman scattering as a transition between a state, and a Raman scattering as a change in polarizability of atom. Okay. So now this change in polarizability of atom, I have already told you that this energy, this vibration energy is very low. You see, as compared to this electronic transition one. Okay. So we will depict this. Will depict this change or shift in energy in terms of wave number. So spectroscopic frequency reported in wave number. So wave number in centimeter inverse is given by 10 to the power 7 by lambda in nanometer. So this is what the conversion formula is. So if the excitation is 830 nanometer, then this wave number is given by 12,000 approximately 12,000 centimeter inverse. So now we can probe out vibration energy levels or rotational energy levels also. So in a detailed way. Okay. So if you see Raman with line width of 10 centimeter inverse FWHM, if the peak width is 10 centimeter inverse also, the change in delta corresponding change in delta is 0.69 nanometer only. Okay. So this is to magnify the scale we are using in terms of wave numbers. Okay. So if we see the same theory, what we have discussed in molecular vibration 1. So this is the incident electric field E equal to E naught sin omega t, which because EM wave is oscillating, so this electric field is oscillating, and then the dipole moment existing in the ball spring model of atom will be mu equal to alpha E. So alpha is the polarizability constant, or it is basically a polarizability tensor. So depending upon E, if the change in alpha is there, polarizability is there, then the molecule will show Raman scattering. So if it is changed, so alpha will change. So alpha change is given by alpha naught plus B sin omega 2 pi V mu vibrational energy. Okay. So you can see alpha is given extended, and then if we put this alpha in mu terms, so mu equal to alpha E. So alpha is so we will have this final equation, and then this, if we expand out this equation, we will get this particular equation, mu equal to in term of 2 pi omega 2 pi mu. So this is your no change in energy, and then these mu minus mu vibrational and mu plus mu vibrational. So mu minus mu, so energy is reduced, so this is Stokes 1, and then the energy is increased, this is anti-Stokes 1. So from seeing this equation, there is one fault here. That fault is that from seeing this equation, there is a, like, it is telling us that there is a Stokes and anti-Stokes both are equally probable. So, but that's not the case. Okay. So this one is your Rayleigh scattering without change in energy, and this is Stokes and this is anti-Stokes. Okay, so we can see here this is a Raman spectra of chloroform. Okay, so this is your Rayleigh output. You can see here for anti-Stokes, these are the points. Raman shift is being shown. Intensity of anti-Stokes is very much less compared to the Stokes, and the position are already like almost equal. So omega minus mu minus mu vibrational and the mu plus mu vibrational, that's being shown. Okay. So because already I have told you that anti-Stokes will be less probable as there is an energy increase in excited photons, that is like less probable. So that's what the Stokes and anti-Stokes vibrations are. Okay, so we can see from here IES intensity of Stokes upon intensity of anti-Stokes. So V minus omega r and V plus omega r are equal, so this will be 1, and exponential h mu hc vibrational r by kt. So this will be a positive term, some positive number. So IS equal to IH into some positive number. So that means IS intensity will be higher. So Stokes intensity will be higher. So this is all about Raman scattering, like two phenomena, like two explanations of the same phenomena, and then we'll go for some say new sample, how to assign Raman peak. So if you want to assign, first find the vibrational modes. Okay, so assign a point group, choose the basic function. So what you have to do, you have to generate an irreducible representation, and then you have to find out like which vibration modes are Raman active, or Raman or IR active. Okay, so what about this assigning new peaks, what I will do, I will present a detailed session later on. So we'll keep it to the basics only. So now this natural line width. So as we know that this, as if I show you this thing, this electronic transition. So electronic transition is a like finite energy transition. Only a finite energy, delta E is finite here. Whatever transition is there, they have a finite energy. So why we don't have a infinitely thin, like corresponding transition lines? Why we have, instead of this like infinitely thin, we have a like some line width is there for our practical observations. So that is due to so if you see electron in excited state remain there for average delta t time. Okay, so this we cannot control. This is like by equilibrium it will be there. Okay, so uncertainty principle, if we put this delta t time in the uncertainty principle, delta E equal to delta t is given by h by 2 pi. So from here, if we delta E is given by E h nu, so delta h nu will be delta nu will be given by 1 by 2 pi delta t. So due to this delta time, average delta time, they are staying there in the excited state. So there is a change in delta frequency. So that delta frequency is providing the line width. So this broadening is called the natural line width broadening. Okay, so there are others also, other reason also, like temperature broadening. So all those things. So this natural line width will be like simulated by a Lorentzian curve. Okay, and if there is Doppler line width, or if you have thermal line width, all those things, then you can go for Gaussian, or we can fit by Weigott, pseudo Weigott, which is a linear sum of Lorentzian and Gaussian